How to automate AI development, how to properly apply MLOps, and what is the AI factory model. Last but not least, how AI can help environmental protection. Following is my conversation with Zach Liu, a research associate at Stanford University, a data scientist and head of AI, machine learning, and brain chain. Enjoy. Zach, how does the landscape of AI automation look like today? So, how much can we automate development of AI models and AI algorithms?
Um, yeah, so that's a really good question because right now I would say a lot of process in machine learning. I work as a machine learning engineers and data scientists I for the past couple years, and I found a lot of process such as when we develop the model and how we deploy the model. A lot of times I found it's really manual. So it's not really effective right now for a lot of machine learning team or data science team. So it's really important to automate that process. Yeah, for example, so the work I did with Andromeda 360, so we were building a machine learning platform for the data science team, so they can use that platform to kind of make their workflow more efficient. So yeah, let me provide like kind of more details on that. So for example, I for the previous company I worked for before, um, so I'm the data scientist on the job, and then if I need some cloud compute resources, I will ask my DevOps engineer or IT engineer. So they will help me to set up my cloud account. They will give me some GPU compute. Because a lot of times DevOps engineers, they are pretty busy. They in on project with many different projects. So
They
so
are.
sometimes I have to wait maybe a few hours, maybe up to a few days, just for them to spin up the EC2 for me and to use. So a lot of time kind of wasted in the time I need to wait for them. And yeah, so those kind of process are not so effective. Yeah. So in terms of the automation of this process, so yeah, so right now a lot of platform we call them machine learning platform, and so they are so yeah, so those tooling are trying to make this process better. So for example, the product we built before is called A360 AI platform. And so data scientists just need to come to the platform. They can request the compute resources they need. They don't have to wait for their DevOps engineer. So from the platform, they just need to okay. So I would just click on something I want to request 2 CPU and 4 GB of memory, and then the compute will be about available for me just in a few minutes. Yeah, so kind of that way. So that kind of machine learning platform for the machine learning team can really improve the data scientist work.
Uh, is MLOps the future of algorithm AI algorithm development? Is it as big a revolution as DevOps for data science community?
Mhm. Yeah, I believe so. Right now we have more and more kind of machine learning teams for each company because each company they are trying to hire more machine learning teams and machine learning engineers. So you must have some kind of standard way for machine learning engineers or data scientists to complete their jobs. So machine learning operation, in short, MLOps, I think would be important and critical for the success for every AI machine learning team in the company. Um, yeah, so it's similar to how DevOps started a couple years ago, like in software development. In machine learning, it's also, yeah, I think it's equally important. And if one company, if they have a good machine learning operation, MLOps practice, yeah, so their team can be more productive and more efficient that way. So they only need a short amount of time to do this machine learning iteration. So I would say DevOps and MLOps, the differences is MLOps, in my opinion, they are more complicated. Because in the traditional kind of software engineering, you don't need to deal with the data a lot. But in machine learning, data is the core to the machine learning models. So yeah, so that extra layer of the data collection, data processing, or ETL, it's really important to ensure the quality of the model and also to make sure like your machine learning performance, it can reach the level you need. So yeah, I would say MLOps is even more important in terms of making AI machine learning innovation a lot faster.
You work in the valley that we, let's say, treat all over the world, also here in Europe, as a kind of direction as to what happens next. Is MLOps in the Valley startups still a novelty, or is it a common practice already?
I would say from a lot of kind of previous clients we interact with, yeah, I would say a lot of people they are trying to search for this type of MOps solution for them, and from the clients and also different data centers I talk with, like in Silicon Valley or yeah, just any machine learning team in the US. It's people more and more machine learning team put emphasis into this area. So a lot of kind of startup, like ours, like my startup before, Andromeda 360. So yeah, we try to build this more flexible, more kind of open machine learning platform for people to use. So right now, I would say the industry landscape is like this. So we have big cloud providers such as Amazon and Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure, and a lot of people go with them. And also I also found a lot of people using Databricks, and so those are pretty big providers and the more kind of reliable vendors. But you will also miss some downside by using them. Because they provide some tooling, because they provide a lot of things you might not need. You just need a simple machine learning platform for you to use. And so, yeah, so they provide a lot more for you. So, so I talked to a lot of teams. They kind of feel like using those big cloud providers, machine learning platform or ML ops tooling, I kind of feel like they are being vendor locking. So it's not flexible for them. But also if on the other side of spectrum, so if you use some startups, they develop this type of machine learning platform, such as the one like I built before. The benefit of that it's more flexible. So a lot of times those startup can change the product just for your needs. But also at the same time, because the startup, it's not stable, you don't know if those companies will still exist in the next couple of years. So they are kind of trade-offs. Yeah, but I would say a lot of new startup coming up also try to make this process better to build a better machine learning platform. A few things they need to consider is yeah, so they need to be flexible and also to feed the customer's need at the same time, and also they need to support kind of the newest model development. So right now a large language model, like a lot of people want to use them. So if you want to build a machine learning platform, like you need to stand out in this market. And then if you can find some way to support a large language model development and deployment.
Right. Um, w- what do you think, let's say, about the role of large language models in automation of ML development?
Yeah, so right now, since I'm working on that directly in my current company, Branch in AI. So yeah, I would say from my experiences building the solution or application from large language model. Um, so right now, a lot of tooling and the open source library, they are really new. For example, so people use the package called LangChain. And so LangChain is the Python interface so for you to interact with, for example, the large language model from OpenAI. So yeah, so people use LangChain a lot to build their own application. But also at the same time, so LangChain is really new. And so I just say they've been updating the package pretty much every day. So they have the new release pretty much every day. So it's kind of uh, I feel like it's hard for me to keep up every new ch changes. But I would say
Yeah,
this
I
space
come
right now.
across this quite often, let's say, talking to engineers and data scientists these days.
Yeah, yeah. So this things are pretty new, and a lot of things are changing really fast. So I would say, yeah. So right now it's exciting and new, but the trade-off is just you have to kind of stick with one version for now, but you don't know if tomorrow that version will be valid anymore. Yeah, but the good thing is there's a really strong community, like in large language model. They continue building this type of open source tools for yeah, for the machine learning community. I think that's the good thing. And yeah, so I believe this field will improve and also to progress a lot more in the next couple months. And so we can see more um, open source tooling, and they are easy to use and to make data scientists and machine learning engineers job more easier, and it can make them more productive.
Thanks to you, I came across the concept of AI factory. Uh,
Mhm.
could you tell our audience uh, a bit on that? What AI factory concept is?
Oh yeah, yeah. So that's similar to the topic we discussed just a couple of minutes ago. It's about the automation. So the idea of AI factory, it's the same thing. It's more like let me make one analogy. So when you write code, right? So I write Python a lot. And so I kind of found, okay, so if I write the same code like two or three times, it's better I will make that a section of the code become a Python function. So because of the function, you only need to write it once, and then once you need that function again, you just call the function. So yeah, so that's how we write code as a developer or data scientist. And also again, if I realize, okay, so this function is really helpful for me, but not only for me, but also for other people as well. So I might build that tool and the function out to be its own package, and so that I can release for people to use. Yeah, so in a similar idea is so the AI factory, so within a machine learning team, so if you realize, okay, so some of the machine learning model or machine learning framework, so I wrote those framework once and seems it's pretty helpful for my machine learning development, and then I will make it as the new framework. And then maybe it's helpful for me, but also it would be helpful for my teammates and also for other teams in the company. And I can make that framework available to other teams as well. So eventually, so that same framework can be reused by other teams, and eventually, the whole kind of machine learning platform also it's not only helpful for my company, but also could be helpful for other companies as well. So we kind of build that, can release that as the open source project. Yeah. So the AI factory, the concept is just okay. So a lot of the pieces in the factory so the process that can be reused, it's similar to the machine learning platform. So in the machine learning process, so a lot of pieces can be reused. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just use those big pieces. So that kind of standardization I think will be valuable for any kind of machine learning team. They want to do innovation, they want to do different iteration, so that can help them to, yeah, so people can follow the standard. So their job will become easier as well. Hopefully that kind of explain this concept.
You supported, let's say, the concept of AI factory from the business perspective, because
Mhm.
it's actually a business concept as well.
Oh, right. Yeah, from the business concept, okay. So I would say this concept it can be applied to solve the business problem using AI as well. So like I mentioned before, if you want to solve use AI or machine learning to solve one business problem, and I mean that the machine learning process will still be the same. So it will be okay. So if I want to detect if the stock market is going down tomorrow, so I need to collect some data. So for that problem, you use the same machine learning workflow. So ranging from like you do data collection, you do data preprocessing, and then once your data is ready for model training, you train the model. And then you improve the model a bit to do hyperparameter fine tuning, and then once the model is ready, you validate that and also do evaluation. And then you deploy the model and then you do this again. So for any kind of business problem, you want to use the AI to solve them. So you have to follow the same process. So yeah, for if you yeah want to solve to detect maybe um, the stock market. So use the same approach. If you build the object detection model and to detect like something happen in the video, so you can use the same workflow. Yeah. So the standardization for the workflow you will be the same. But yeah, so that same model and the approach can be applied to different business problem as well. So hopefully, yeah, that answer your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Changing topic now. Mm, You are you're blogging about freelancing in
Mhm.
machine learning AI. Um, what would you, let's say, what would be your advice for people who want to move into being a freelancer in the industry?
Yeah. So recently I wrote a blog post about my experiences in machine learning freelancing. So I started the freelance work, I would say, since 2017 or 2018 of the time. And my idea, so my experiences, the reason I want to do freelancing is maybe a bit different from other people. And also, I realize maybe some people also trying to do the same thing. Okay, so just to clarify, I'm not a full-time freelancer. So I have the full-time job at the same time. And then for example, the full-time job require me to work at least maybe 40 hours per week. But I do another side project, which is I take some part-time consultation data science work for other my clients. So maybe I would say, oh, I took about 10, 20 hours extra each week and to work for those side projects. Yeah, so that's my intention was to make some extra cash and just and also want uh to solve more data science problems. So I kind of find in addition to my full-time position, also doing machine learning for the part-time freelance and part-time consultation work allow me to do kind of to deal with different type of data science problem. So in I would say during those time period and also longer term, I found those experiences helped me to become a better data scientist and machine learning engineers because I got more experiences with other side project as well.
Um, so please give us some three tips, like mm, what to avoid being a freelancer, and 3 tips, let's say, how to use freelancing to, because let's say extra cash is probably a motivation for everyone, but how to be a how to use freelancing to upskill in the area
Mhm.
of AI ML, how to get the best development for your career.
Oh yeah, yeah, I appreciate
Career.
that. I appreciate that question. Those some details I wrote in my blog post as well. Yeah, I would say to do like this part-time consultation and part-time freelance on top of your full-time job. I think a couple of things you have to be careful. So first will be have to kind of still maintain some life work balance. I know it's kind of hard because to do it to
How
work
do you do
additional
it?
hours. I try to kind of plan my hours each day really carefully. Yeah, so right now, I would say, for example, so for the past couple of years, so my position is all remote, so it's pretty flexible. And also my manager also know, like my boss, they won't kind of check on me all the time. So they are kind of hands off, and so they trust me like how I gonna to use my time. I also just want yeah, so I just make sure I deliver the work and also the quality of my work will not be affected. And yeah, so for example, I gonna to plan for tomorrow. Maybe I would need to get up early in the morning and maybe just to work some hours during the night. Just just to make sure I will be able to complete my the work for my full-time position, and also for my part-time work, and also have some hours I can work on. So I would say just to have the better time management. I have to work more hours, but also at the same time I have to get up early, maybe work a few hours do over the weekend, maybe a few hours during the night. You have just to arrange those time in advance. So that's one of my tips. And yeah, sorry. So another item I want to point out is in addition to like the time, I have to be careful. And also I would say it's really important to be upfront with your full-time manager as well. So the manager in your full-time position. So I would say in the past couple of years, my boss, they are really kind of supportive and to this. And so some of them, they actually encourage me to work on some side project as well, because they believe if I'm in this field, I'm a data scientist and machine learning engineers, and if I can work on some side project to upskill my work, I think that will be beneficial for them as well. So
That's very
I,
rational.
so that's their reasoning behind that. And so I'm also kind of lucky enough to have them to support my work, and also they even support my side project as well. So yeah, I just really appreciate their support. So not everyone is like me. Maybe their boss that doesn't let them to do that, so you have to be careful, and so to be transparent with them.
Yeah, transparency matters, I think, very
Mhm.
much those days.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so one thing I also want to mention is one tip I have I can provide to people is so normally my full-time position would give me a company computer, all right, and then for my part-time consult, I try not to mix things up. For example, the laptop I have for my full-time position, I will only store the data and the write code, and I only use that computer for my full-time job. And I have another personal laptop. It's also only reserved and to do my part-time freelance work. And so that way, you can make sure I use this computer for my full-time job and use another one for my part-time freelance work. And so data security and also some of the code I use and will not mix up. So that's one tips I want to mention.
And the tips to get, let's say, the best gigs for your personal development.
Oh, I got I would say for the past couple years, in total, I work on kind of 4 to 5 different part-time like freelance work. Um, I also haven't answered your previous question like how I kind of upskill, right? And so I would say, so for example, in my full-time position, I deal mainly with a lot of like image data. For example, in when I work for for example, when I work at the company, yeah, so it only allow me, I have a lot of image data. So my expertise will be in like computer vision and to do some image processing and to do object detection kind of a type of model. But also at the same time, in my part-time consultation, I got the opportunity to work on the data. It's in different formats. For example, I work on the NLP and to deal with some text data at the same time. Yeah, so those are kind of so I got more opportunity to work on different type of data and to build different type of model than my full-time position. So that way I got more exposure and also got more experiences
So you would recommend people to expand the areas of expertise with freelancing, not
yeah yeah I
to use it to focus on the thing that they are doing as a full-time job.
It's kind of depends on like what you are looking for in your career and also what kind of goals and achievement you want to do. It's really depends on people. I would say this kind of only applies to generalist, a data scientist. So maybe this will not be applied to a specialist. For example, a specialist data scientist or machine engineers, they really focus really good at NLP, for example. And then, yeah, it just might not apply to them because they want to be a expert in the field. But for me, I'm more in the generalist. So generalist, so we've been given a problem and we know how to solve them. So we have the ability to do more research and just to be flexible and to work on the problem at hand. And so I would say this type of a generalist is more suitable to work in a smaller startup because in a startup you need to do a lot of different things at the same time. But the specialist, the data scientist, is more suitable like to get the position at the big tech company because you have more data science in the team. You don't have to do everything. But if you can dig in like to be a specialized and be really expert in 1 or 2 things, I think that would be great. It will be beneficial for the whole team on that way. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's like I'm just wondering, what is the right time to become a specialist in the career development path? Because until some point, I think in most professions, it's good to be a generalist to get to know, various things around your core specialization.
Yeah, it also depends on people's preference. Maybe some people prefer to be a specialist, and maybe some people prefer to be a generalist. But yeah, I think it's people's preference. But just for me, I kind of curious about everything, and so it's kind of hard for me to become a specialist because when I'm working on one thing, I'm interested in another thing. So I want to learn more about that. It just maybe depends on people's personality, but it just for me, I just curious about everything. I just want to learn everything. So it's kind of hard for me to become a specialist. But anyway, I don't want to say there's a better way like for people to move in their own career, but I think it's personal choice. Yeah.
You're also a university teacher. What would you recommend to your students?
To the students.
To specialize early or not? Uh, Given the
Yeah,
current market and given let's say AI developments in recent months or recent weeks, what would you
hmm.
advise them?
Yeah, if they're going to graduate soon, yeah, I would just maybe follow their heart and also try to find out what they are good at. If they really enjoy digging into just one or two things, yeah, with a lot of details, if they really like to just to specialize in one or two things, yeah, I think just follow their heart and and also to see what works best for you. So yeah, because people can change and also life changes as well. So, yeah, so maybe I think it would still be good for students if they are in the machine learning field. I think it would still be good in early in their career. They yeah, it would be good for them to focus one or two things and to begin with. And then that's how I did. I would say, yeah, for in the earlier of my career, I was more specialized in computer vision, because yeah, because I all the work I have done also I was given is all like image data. So yeah, so in I would say the first 2 or 3 years I heavily focused on computer vision, and then I gradually pick up other skill set by working different freelance job. So I pick up more skill set from NLP side and also do more like in time series prediction, for example. So yeah, and then I got to work at machine learning engineers. I also touched more on ML ops. So I would say, if my advice or suggestion for a student that is just starting out, I think it would be great for them to focus one or two things here to begin with. And then once they really specialize in those two or three things, and then they can gradually expand their skill set afterwards. Yeah, it's so that way will be better if the student just, okay, I want to learn everything in the beginning. I think that's impossible to do.
From the perspective, what's the next big thing in AI? What kind of domain would you recommend to your students or to our viewers uh, to start with?
Yeah, I would say,
Apart
yeah.
from large language models.
Yeah, there's just one thought I have lately. I think I would say two things. I want to see the industry going this way. So one thing would be so right now large language model you mean so a lot of models they are pretty big. So it's really hard for a smaller company to train their own large language model, because you have billions different parameter like in the neural network, and so yeah, it will be expensive to train your own. So I kind of see the trend right now because people want to train their own large language model in their own domain. So there's a trend, people try to figure out, okay, so if we can have the smaller model kind of perform similarly with a large language model. So I would say in the future, the trend is going, we are not going too much about with the big size model, but we want to kind of use a small model. It's more applicable to a smaller startup or yeah, the mid-size company. So yeah, so I would say the future more in like if you can figure out a way like to build a smaller size of the model, I think will be the win for everyone. And so another perspective is So in the early days of deep learning, it can work because you have the model size will be big, and also you need to have the big size of the data. You have tons of data to make the model work. So I see the trend, and it's more like so model the technology, the technique into that, it's become more mature. And so there's a way you might not need a really big data set just to fit into your machine learning model for it to learn. So another trend is more like a smaller size of the data, but that data need to maintain a really high quality. So I would say high quality of the data set, they will be smaller, and you have the smaller type of size of the model. So yeah, I would say it's just kind of my thoughts.
I
So
agree with this one very
yeah,
much.
the trend.
I think
Yeah,
it's
you have
very,
to
very
find.
future
Mhm.
oriented.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I also
from job market perspective and from what people could specialize right now when they leave uni.
Yeah, so I would say just something called data-centric AI, as you have the smaller size of the model, but also you have a smaller size of the data, but it's high quality. So in short, yeah, so your model can perform really well with this type of small and high quality of the data set. So I would say the future would be like smaller, yeah, for sure. And also you have to find a smarter way to do it. And so I would say it's more like people are talking about data-centric AI, but I would say you have to do not only data-centric AI, but also smaller and smarter way to do it. That's kind of my views and opinion.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
and
very
another
valuable.
perspective is not only data-centric AI, but the because a lot of companies they don't have enough data set for training, so they need to find a way to generate a so-called the synthetic data set. So it more like a fake data set. If yeah, if they don't have the kind of real data set, they have to generate those for them to train the model. So that's also important as well. And also in the future, there will be more techniques coming out. So it will be a lot easier for people to generate those synthetic data. Um, and so if that's the case, like for the next a couple months or in the next few years, you have more data than you have ever had before. So that would be the problem for a lot of people is, okay, so I got so many data set and it's not hard for me to generate the synthetic data set. How am I gonna to select the portion of the data for my model? Going forward, I think some technique and also some research should be done in that kind of area. So the technique to figure out, okay, I have this 1 million data points. If I only want to use maybe 10% of them, how are I gonna to select those data set from from the 1 million data set I have? Because I don't need to train the model with all the 1 million data set. And so how am I to use the smart way and to select the best subset for me to train my model? I think that's also the key to the future world of the AI and ML, especially in the data-centric AI landscape.
The last question, how AI saves sharks?
Oh, yeah. So I work on a lot of projects, as you know, like in Monterey Bay Aquarium. I was yeah, work on some data science project over there. And yeah, I also published a few papers about that. Yeah, we apply data science in marine conservation effort. Yeah, so one project I worked on before um is just to plan put as a plain language is we want to understand how white shark their energy pattern. So for example, when I was at Monterey Bay Aquarium, I worked with the shark scientists over there. So they designed like kind of a special tag, so they can put on the shark. So there are two different type of tags. So one of them is going to the stomach of the shark, and the other one they can put into on their fin or on their tail. So those tag, it's a really good sensors. So so when a shark moving around, they are swimming down to sometimes they will dive. So those sensors will detect kind of their energy level. So in the plain languages, those tags will want to measure like the calories the white shark try to consume. Yeah. So something we did before is want to understand like the energy patterns for the shark, and maybe some shark want to dive really fast to the deep water. We don't know why. Maybe they want to find some target they want to attack, or they want to eat them. But anyway, yeah. So we use machine learning to help with that because we got so many data from the sensors. And also we use machine learning and deep learning technique and try to detect and to classify what kind of deep behavior of each shark, so we can understand more and about their energy like patterns, and so we can better protect them.
Yes, it's amazing. Uh, it's like now kind of a off-topic question. Aside from ML/AI, are sharks important to the environmental balance in the sea?
Yeah, right. So that's a really important effort in the conservation field. And so another project I work on also related to white shark is we're also trying to find a way to identify different individual of the shark in the ocean. For example, right now, scientists would go out to the field and they can see some sharks swimming around them, and they will take the picture of the fin of the shark. And so they use because each shark fin, they have a special patterns for each individual. So it's so people scientists would
Like
say maybe
fingerprint.
oh yeah, like our fingerprint, yes. So the scientists will take a picture of the fin, and so they can know, okay, so this individual, yeah, came to the same place last year, for example. So they will know. So we can kind of track them and so how they move around within different parts of the world. And yeah, so it's will
Well,
be so that's perfect example for computer vision and deep learning. So we build a lot of so the scientists will take the picture of them, and then we use those data and to train the image classifier. So yeah, we also build a database for that. So yeah, the scientists can use computer vision and to better understand so to classify a shark individual in the ocean. They just need to take the picture, and then we would know if we can match the shark fin within our database. And also another interesting project I work on just within that project is because scientists go out just a few times a year. The picture, the number of the picture of the thing they took, it's also limited. But also they have a lot of underwater videos. So that they are not only taking one shot of the picture of the fin, they record just maybe 1 or 2 minutes video just to focus on the fin. And so the shark was swing around in the around the boat. They have the camera just to track just to the fin. And then we developed like a object detection model. And so we just use that model, feed a video to that model, and the model would draw a bounding box around the thing, and it will crop the image out and save to the database. So it's a more automated way for us to get more data from the field. So we build out like the pipeline in the cloud. So we have the terabytes of those data set, and then we just process each video and with object detection model. And then yeah, eventually we will be able to collect, I would say, 2 or 3 millions numbers of those fin image in our database. And then After that, we got a couple million of those data set. We have about 500 shark individual in the database, and then we were able to build a really robust shark fin classifier, we say.
It's
Yeah, it
amazing.
just
It's amazing to hear, let's say, how AI helps in environmental protection. Mm.
Mhm.
You,
Yeah,
you
I
you you
believe.
don't hear much about it in the news mm, and
Yeah.
elsewhere on tech portals.
Yeah, I think in my experience, this is kind of unique. I got the opportunity to work on those problems. But I would say in ecology and marine biology, more and more students will be able to get to work on to use AI to solve those problems because AI technique and a lot of open source machine learning framework is available to everyone. And also people make those framework easier to use. And so you don't have to write a lot of code and to run the model. So yeah, so it's easier for students and researchers. They build their own machine learning model to solve a specific problem in their domain. So it's much easier now. Yeah, so I would say just yeah, for the data for the scientist and also for the researcher like in the environmental domain or also in biology or in ecology. Yeah, it will be much easier for them to build machine learning model compared like 5, 10 years ago. So I think it's now is a time. Also, they it's easier for them to collect more data. You can also always find innovative way to do data collection. But anyway, yeah, I just want to mention. I think right now it's a good time also for the scientific community and to take advantage of the AI, the power of AI and machine learning in their research. I think, yeah, now is a really good time.
The very last question, which your last what you just said provoked me. Um, as a university teacher, do you think that machine learning skills will become a must uh, for most fields of research, like social sciences, even history, uh, not, let's say, hard science, so to say?
Hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I believe from my experiences, because I also was a graduate student before, and before I come into machine learning, I actually was in geophysics. So I used to study like geophysics of other planets such as Mars. But anyway, so I would say machine learning it would be a good addition for students and also for universities, professors. I mean, it just would be a good additional skill set to have. But the core, to understand, um, like the true scientific problem, you still require a good fundamental. For example, in geophysics, you still need to really understand like the fundamental concept about physics. So the students still required to take courses of geodynamics and those courses to understand the physics of the Earth, and also it would be good for them to develop their skill set like in to a lot of like differential equation will be important to use. So I would say so machine learning will not replace those fundamental skill set that they need to have. But it would be good will be a really good addition and to that. So machine learning provide another way for you to solve the problem, but it's not the only way because right now because it becomes so popular and like a lot of uh,
Hyped.
attention, yeah, hype like in around that. I would say it's just another technique, well, yeah, well for people to try, but people still yeah need to pay attention to the fundamentals like a scientific core skill set, so they still need to have that. but because so machine learning cannot solve everything, but it can help to solve some part of the problem. And also, I believe in the future, because machine learning, like a large language model, becomes so.
Sorry, I will cut it out.
Oh, no worries.
Uh, yeah, please go on.
Oh yeah, just want to conclude that yeah, just in summary, I would say yeah, so use machine learning and AI will become much easier, and yeah, it would be another way for people to solve the scientific problem as long as you have the data. I think would be good for people to try to implement that in their research would be a good thing, but it's not required. Yeah, I would say.
Zach, thank you so much for having you. This was a wonderful presentation of two big topics. How the automation of MI looks like today, and also a lot of advice for young adepts of AI, where to go and what to do and what to avoid and what the best practices are.
Yeah,
And I hope this is not our last conversation.
yeah, I appreciate the opportunity for me, yeah, to talk to you and also share my experiences, and hopefully those will be helpful for other people. But yeah, but I really thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, and it was amazing to hear, let's say, about how AI also works in environmental protections. Thank you so much for listening to Sherpa Search on Tech. If you have enjoyed the show, please subscribe to our show wherever you listen. Thanks again. The Sherpa Search on Tech podcast is a production of Sherpa Search, an executive search firm specializing in the tech industry, helping hire the right people for expert and managerial positions, and advising how to build and develop long-lasting, high-performing IT teams. If you would like to learn more, reach out to us at maciej.szczerba@sherpasearch.tech or visit our website sherpasearch.tech. See you next time.